rich mahogany.
That's you, because you never won anything.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. In that they were good once, but things have moved on.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by Pro14 Rugby, where we really do try to deliver half-baked opinions served up as actual, real, authoritative analysis. We are going out live on the Guinness PRO14 official social media channels. That's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Get involved via the comments section because we really do love seeing those comments come in, and they weirdly drive the show at times. It's great. Joining me today, I have Mr. Sean Holley. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Really good. Fully Guinness PRO14'd up from the weekend, and not talking about Wales, Scotland anymore, and looking forward to this weekend where, in their wisdom, Premier Sports put me on 2 games. So I've got a game on Sunday and a game on Monday. So really into it.
It's all right. 2 paychecks. Happy. Dean Budd, how are you?
Oh, licking my wounds a little bit still after Italy's semi-good performance. So I've copped a lot of flack from the boys, being ostracised from the group for completely writing them off. So licking my wounds and trying to patch up some friendships. And actually just had a good day today. Had a few beers with a couple of mates and played some golf and been out to dinner to make the most of life before we shut down here in England.
Can I say to anyone who has not watched or listened back to last week's show, if you want searing honesty about what might now be former friends, you go and see the Dean Budd segment. It was brilliant. But that's why you're here. We want you to be straight up, man. It was great. And nice haircut.
Thank you.
Yeah. Paul Williams, you are looking very dashing.
Sean has suggested I've dyed my beard, but all it is healthy living. So I've just off the booze. I'm off the sugary stuff. Won't catch me with that anymore. And it's just healthy living. No, I have dyed my beard and the hair. Try to take it's taken hours off me. This has. I think it's. See how it goes.
Your jawline's looking pretty good.
Jaws back, artificially painted in by Just for Men.
So what are we going to touch on today? We're going to touch on, we're going to have a little rattle through the Six Nations. That was one of the weirder ones that we'll ever remember, for every reason. We will talk about the Guinness PRO14 action from the last weekend. Some rising stars. We'll talk to Sean about that. Zebre get a win against a team close to a couple of people's hearts on this podcast. What is next for Andy Farrell and Wayne Pivac? We'll talk about that. Wilson's Warrior Challenge, the red card review. We'll talk a little bit about that, and the Benetton postponements. That is plural for anyone that hasn't seen the news. We have another COVID-19 enforced postponement. It's going to be kind of normal for this season, and we kind of should get used to it. So we're going to actually bring Adam in, voice of the Guinness PRO14, with a very nicely pressed shirt, I'm sure, and quiz him on that. And then inside Paul Williams' mind, straight up, I don't know what that's going to be. I'm a little bit scared.
I haven't got a clue.
We'll dive in. Six Nations, folks. Last week, we I think we teed it up pretty well. We went through the various formulas, and I think that kind of played out. Because halfway through the Italian-England match, we were going, yep, this is getting a little bit tasty. Dean Budd, at halftime in that game, that was really teed up nicely.
Yeah, I was really happy with myself for once, nailing it on the head after Farrell's gone in after 5 minutes. Not happy for the boys, but happy my prediction was looking more true than ever. But yeah, the Italian team really showed a lot of niggle, just nastiness and kind of a bit of attitude, which they lacked last week, which certainly played into help kind of throw England off their game a little bit, I think. And England probably didn't make some great decisions kicking the ball away so much in that first half. But yeah, very, very good start from Italy, and we've got to give them credit now.
Yeah, Sean, if you're from the coach's perspective, it was nice to see a little bit of spike from that Italian team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I saw that. It was quite weird, really, because I had to go somewhere. So I was watching it. I had to nip out. So I put on the radio. And of course, when you put the radio on, you get a very vivid, I love listening to the radio, but you get Chris Jones, Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson. So it's quite a biased, naturally. And, you know, it's just the way it is. England are going for the Six Nations. But Italy had their best period. So it was really interesting listening to them, praising the Italians and, you know, and what they were standing for at that time. So they were making a game of it. And you could hear it's like concern in their voice because it was funny, wasn't it? Because I was almost thinking, well, they haven't got enough here. And even when they sort of broke away at the end and got a couple of tries, I was thinking they probably still need another one, you know, because we didn't know what was to come. And of course, it just made as we predicted, it made the later game that much more exciting because of what could or couldn't happen in that game.
There's comments coming in thick and fast. I will pause this. Say hello, Seb Negri.
I love this. It's so cool. We've got your teammates coming in, just lambasting you every week.
Go to the one where we may forgive you. There's no. They're not even close to forgiving me. Or of like. I was talking to some of the Benetton boys a couple of days ago, and it's leaked all through the team at Benetton that I'm just trashing everyone, and they're calling me Judas now. It's just going and stabbing them all in the back. So they're not even close to forgiving me. So I reckon I'm just going to stay on the front foot, and until they prove me wrong, then they'll keep getting it.
James Reed. James Reed gets it. Regular James Reed, Evening Post, cutthroat honesty from Budd, would expect nothing less from a man who introduced himself to the podcast with an anecdote about slaying a dog.
Yeah,
that is so close to the bone for what actually happened. Yeah. Hey, speaking of which, hello, regulars. We can see in the comments section, Michael Jenkins. Hello. Pembrokeshire, West Wales, always well represented. Swing Path, I think that's how, isn't it? Yeah. James Reed in. Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Negri is a regular now. T1 Down Under. Dean's honesty is quality. Yes, it is. Fred Healy, #Judas. That's where we are. But Paul, it was it was good to see England rattled and really have to push down the accelerator and really have to work for that, because he's right. At the very start, it looked as if that could be grim, and it wasn't. It turned into a completely different game. Yeah, and I think that Pellegrini try really helped. You know, it was. I was really impressed with Italy in the first half. I thought they played really well, and I thought they passed the ball pretty well. Actually, they didn't just run willy-nilly into contact. They moved the ball around pretty well in the first 40 minutes. And like you say, England had. I mean, would you say it was comfortable in the end? Not comfortable, but they had to be efficient in order to win. I thought I was quite impressed with Italy. I thought they did really well. Yeah, it was a comfortable win, and Italy would have taken a lot out of that game. But we had that later game, and if you were Ireland, you'd have taken 34-5 because that seemed doable. And then France happened. Oh man, that was. I was a little emotional.
Do you know, for the neutral, Andy, I tell you what, it's so nice seeing France back.
I don't think. Neutral. Oh. I was watching the end thinking, I don't think France care whether they win the Six Nations or not.
No, that's 4 years, isn't it? There.
I was thinking they are just on a mission for a World Cup. Yeah, they are. And that's just the impression I got, because there wasn't a quick urgency to, we got to score a lot of points and then get the bonus point and all of that. But they just, as French do, they let it come, and they were just enjoying the moment, summed up by Romain Ntamak's parting shot, I suppose, wasn't it? Unbelievable. I'm really excited about that team. And I know we'll probably touch on Wales now, but I think there's a lot of lessons to learn. I think the Wallabies are going through it now. They're going to take some heat. They're going to take a bit of pain. But that's what you got to do. You know, players can't go on forever, teams can't go on forever, and I just like the look of this French, the timing. Oof.
Yeah, and I think what's really important for the French, because 9 out there is their most important position, isn't it? Really.
But
And
you
you
look,
look,
Aldrit for me is
you know,
brilliant.
that 8, 9, 10 they've got there now. Jesus, you know, Dupont, he's playing at Aaron Smith level already. I'd say
Dupont is already, and I'm this is on the record. Dupont is one of the best scrum halves I've ever seen already in his young career, and he's been a pro since what he was 17.
Yeah,
he is unreal. You'll see very, very few scrum halves with the kind of game that he has, the kind of effectiveness. He just makes really good decisions as well.
He's solid too. He can bounce a little tackle, can't he? You can't get him down that. You know, he's a little bit of a mini unit. He looks like a thumb from a certain angle if you catch him in the wrong camera angle. But yeah, he's a hell of a good player.
Do you know, it was actually devastating in a way, because I was really confused watching that game, because I desperately wanted Ireland to win. I was shameless in my bias, right? But I was clapping some of the French play. I was getting up off the couch.
I can imagine you in a little dichotomous nightmare, loving the fact that French are back and just ruin the fact that Ireland were losing.
100%. And it's the only good thing about that game for me looking back was that, my God, we got beaten by French playing the French way, and it was great to see. And also horrible.
Can we all agree that France are definitely back now? Because I've written at least 6 times in the last 10 years that they've been back, and then they've gone again. They are back, aren't they?
I mean, off field, even like I remember after the Six Nations game we played them, you just like see how they interact with each other, and they're like best friends. They really seem like they've got a good culture off field going as well. They're, I mean, certainly enjoying themselves because they've won, but I mean, you don't really see many teams having that much fun at a Six Nations aftermatch, and then on and on after that a little bit. But they really seem like a pretty close knit group on and off the field, which does scream France is back, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point you make, because that's danger signs, because you'll know in international rugby that's probably the hardest thing. You know, you've got the best players. Selection is obviously, you've got to get that right, but leave that to the coach. And if they've already got a culture, and it's born out of the fact that a lot of them have come through that under-20 system. Look at Arthur Vincent come in the centre.
He's brilliant.
You know, good game of captain in the 20s, Dupont and Tamac, Aldrit, the list goes on. There's a few to come in, we keep saying. So, yeah, I thought they were the best team in the championship, but didn't win it.
Adam, I think that is the recipe for a lot of successful teams in the past.
Absolutely.
Barbarian.
It's all about, we're not going back there. Quick shout out to Chiefs Girl. Hello in the comments. Respect, you're getting up very early for this one. Well done. It's great. One of the better things to come out of Super Rugby Aotearoa. We have real cross hemisphere reach, boys. There was another game. We spent most time last week talking about Alwyn Jones and his record number of caps. I think that was about right, judging by the game. Didn't watch a lot of it. Don't think I missed much. Sean?
Awful. I didn't go to the game, but the broadcasters and people like Shane Williams I've spoken to have said categorically it is the worst game they've ever seen, that the atmosphere was non-existent, and that includes the bench that were there. The Scotland bench and staff were up for it and created a bit of a mini atmosphere for themselves, but Wales looked flat. It was in our performance. I thought it was devastating. And for me, anyway, to see Alan Wynne run out to an empty stadium and not even his wife and children could be there. You know, we understand all of the issues, but I mean, come on, put them in the corner of the stand with masks on. You know, helicopter them in, for goodness sake. And just the performance matched it. You know, I felt really sorry for Alan Wynne. But look, he's a proud enough guy. It's more the manner of our performance. Our performance is getting worse, not better.
Yeah.
And for a new coaching team, that's really worrying.
Yeah, and I wrote about it today, actually. I think what people in Wales are struggling with, 5 losses is obviously a massive problem. on the bounce. The big issue will be that when Gatlin handed over, if you ask somebody, what's your worst scenario PVAC defeat? It'll be, oh, we scored 6, but we conceded 8. There was always this assumption we'd be scoring loads of tries under Wayne PVAC. So I think what's been unusual is that isn't happening at all. This isn't like PVAC Scarlets. This looks like, I don't know what this looks like. This looks like Gatlin ball light that doesn't even work. So it's really unusual. And I think what that Welsh team looked like, they've been caught off guard by these new breakdown interpretations, even though they aren't new. And you think that when PVAC was at the Scarlets, he used to have nearly 3 back row forwards on the field every time. There's Will Boyd, James Davis, there'd be McLeod. He was almost playing 3-7s all of the time. Whereas that doesn't look like that setup they've got now. They've got like a traditional 6, 7, 8, and maybe the ball isn't quick enough. That PVAC ball relies on ultra fast ball, doesn't it, Sean?
But it wasn't quick enough. It wasn't quick enough. We've got to praise Scotland, yeah. We've got to praise Scotland. Defensively smart, fill the field, attack the breakdowns that they needed to and wanted to. Wales played right into their hands, overcommitted numbers. You've got to praise Scotland there. Steve Tandy, a Welsh coach, who coaches the Scotland defence. But, they took their chance with the Maul try, They had 11 guys in, ploughing over. Wales didn't react to it. They'd done their homework. They deserved to win. They made the most line break. They looked threatening, and they did the job. So, well done, Scotland. Wales must do better. Yeah, well
played Scotland, by the way. I didn't say that. You deserved that thoroughly.
Yeah, and all their fly halves. All of them.
God.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Who's going to play next? At 10.
Go on. Andy, we have some news.
Oh, hello.
What news do we have? Holy mother.
Oh my God, right. Forget rugby. This is what I thought
this might happen. Okay, so for anyone listening back, we are doing this on US election night. CNN, just before we came in, there was, with the Wisconsin went for Biden. Seemed to be, and there's going to be a recount, and by the time everyone listens, it might have happened, etc., etc. So producer Adam, who's keeping an eye on things, because he's the responsible one.
He's one of those weird poll watchers that they've got there.
Yeah, he is. I've never known so much about Wisconsin. That's all I've done today, virtually, is look at the
small little counties and places you've never really heard of. It's amazing they become so important. So apparently,
it's the beer capital of the US too, which I didn't realize till this morning.
Cheese capital.
And beer. It sounds quite nice, actually.
I think we should go. We should go.
Pod room, do it from Green Bay.
I'm not reading that out, Adam. I'm not reading that out. We'll move on. So look, Scotland can take a lot. It's been a really weird Six Nations. It's a really weird year in sport. Six Nations have been part of that, but well done, England. You've won it. That's kind of where I'm just going to finish that off. And if anyone wants to pick me up in that, it's okay. Guinness PRO14 action. We've got a few, we've been busy. We've got some videos. So if you're listening back, this is the point where you might jump in after about 18 minutes of the show and look at some of the videos we're going to play, because there's some good stuff here from a few different places. So let's rattle through some of the results. Cardiff lost to Ulster. Zebre beat Ospreys. Glasgow Leinster was nicely tight for a while. Leinster won 32-19 away. Munster, good win, 28-16 away. The Dragons. We'll talk about the postponement of the Connacht Benetton game. And Edinburgh 6, Scarlets 3, and a notable challenge in that game, which we will get to. But straight off the bat, two young players are really standing out in this young season for Mr. Sean Holley. So Leinster have Ross Byrne coming off the bench for Ireland at the weekend, but it's his brother Harry who's catching the eye.
Byrne, baby Byrne, isn't it? It's they just must have a clan out there and just a conveyor belt of talent, because I've been watching Ross Byrne closely. I really like him. He's pushing Sexton amazingly, but then this kid, what can you say about him? This is another one who can do it all. And what I like about him is that they're so confident. They're confident in their own ability. It's like they've never been young. They come into it straight away. Really athletic looking guys, good heads on them, challenge the line a lot, lead the team, kick well, catch well, tactically good, goal kick. I mean, what more can you say? They don't need to defend too much when you play for Leinster, which is probably an asset, but they can defend as well. And so they're probing away. And to think, you've got Sexton, Byrne, Byrne. Kieran Frawley has been pushed to 12 because, where else does he get in? So, I mean, well, don't talk to me about this fella. He's my new man crush, Scott Penny. But anyway, I just think this is the sort of player that we're expecting now out of Leinster. It's an all-round, multi-skilled, good head on shoulders, leader style, comfortable, confident athlete. And this goes. We could talk about hookers. We could talk about Ed Byrne at prop. We could talk about Frawley. We could talk about guys on the wing like this fella. They getting it right, and he's the latest one. Another Byrne.
It's almost like Leinster are producing test level players straight out of academies, isn't it? It's really weird. They're not like club level. They just come straight out and then go almost into the island team. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's. I think we touched on last week just how complete every single player is that comes out. And it seems unfair, honestly, for any other team in the Pro 14. You just think you finally think you're going to catch a break by getting a whole bunch of the Leinster boys playing for Ireland, and then everyone's literally just as good or better with a little bit of hunger chucked in there.
The thing about Byrne there is like we did Jared Evans last week. When we talk about Jared Evans, Harry Byrne the same. There's a lot now of little attacking kicks, prodding through grubber, top crossfield kicks, and they're coming into it now. They've been practicing these skills almost for a couple of years at academy level, A level, and they're bringing it to the game. So it's good to see. I think he's excellent, Harry Byrne.
Yeah, we with Italy had Wayne Smith coming over as a resource coach, and one of the big things he tried to bring into us was front foot kicks, he called them, and just how valuable they were. It wasn't always about regaining possession, but it just always ask questions of defense, and it always put them under pressure. And you generally 9 times out of 10, if it was a front foot kick in the right place, you regain the ball within 2 phases with a certain amount of gain. Like, it's all very well researched and planned out, but Leinster do it, see it more and more from them at the moment. Ring rows all the time was putting them in. It's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Paul, you really look as if you want to come in.
No, I was just thinking, but that is entirely right, isn't it? Because if you just those little dinks through the back, even if you collect the ball, you're normally on your own. All your forwards are in front of you and can't get round the gate, so you end up just getting mangled in midfield or holding on. So in that sense, it's the perfect option, isn't it?
I love kicking variety. Anything that makes a defense have to think is really useful, because modern defenses are incredibly efficient, especially if it's just what I'd call sort of fairly generic phase play. That's actually quite easy for a defense to counter. And the longer that kind of generic phase play can go on, it actually becomes almost more likely that the attacking team will get penalized because they feck something up. So that kind of short-term sacrifice of the ball, just to actually give a different, to make them think about what happens next time they'll come through, I think there's huge value in that.
That's right. And the big thing is just against that, the blitz defense, isn't it? Because it's so annoyingly good when they blitz. There's nothing you can do. Is if you spin them once every 5 possessions, at least they're thinking, aren't they? Like, we better not keep rushing up all the time, otherwise we get caught. So
exactly. So before we get accused of Leinster bias, because we do talk a lot about Leinster, we'll talk about more Irish people. Craig Casey. Paul, you like Craig Casey?
I've written about him. I think he's fantastic. In my column this weekend, I'd written that Aaron Smith's performance was good. Ben Young's was fantastic for England, and then I thought he was the 3rd best scrum half from all of the rugby I saw. Just different level, proper triple threat scrum half, kick, pass, run, can do it all. But I just think from the base is where the big difference is, because he can make those little darts, which Ireland currently don't really have, with Murray. You know, look at that there. That's 25 meters for nothing. So it's massively impressed.
Sean, you were doing the Munster game at the weekend, and
Sorry, I was still rocking at the third scrum half of the week. I'm still rocking at that. I'm not building this kid up to be that just yet. The All Blacks were playing the Wallabies.
No, I know. No, in terms of all the games I saw,
you only watched 3 games then, didn't you?
I watched. Oh, look at this.
No, look.
25 minutes in, and it's bullying time.
I've had the privilege of commentating on the last 2 under-20s World Championships, and it's good because you get to see these young players come through. I mentioned Arthur, Vincent, people like that. But Casey's one of them, and he's got. Paul's right. He's got great nuts and bolts already. So the basics of the game, like passing, box kicks. But he's got a snipe, and again, that confidence I spoke about with Byrne, he's got that as well. He's almost overconfident at the moment. He's very chirpy, but listening to Billy Holland on the weekend, they quite like that. You know, as Munster forward, they're used to having somebody Stringer and Conor Murray in behind. So he's got that, and he showed some real touches on the weekend, man of the match by a way. And he was good like that in the 20s. But there's another kid as well who played the open side. Hodnett wasn't due to start. Chris Cloete withdrew.
He played well.
Started ahead of Cloete last week, but there's another, almost in the Alan. Dare I say Alan Quinlan? More in the sort of Shane Jennings mold. Lovely delayed offload. You look at this now. He doesn't pass it straight away. He just holds it. Now, to me, that's a bit of detail that shows a little bit of class. He had plenty of moments. He was a real nuisance, but yeah, you can see what I mean by Shane Jennings type, can't you? The old Leinster and Ireland 7, very similar in stature, and I'm one to watch out for, I got to say.
So we've got 2 more clips from that Munster Dragons game that we kind of need to get to. We're going to do one of them now, right? And the one of them we're going to do is some really filthy hooker trickery that I'm kind of not happy with. Dean, when you see a front row forward who's not called Dane Coles do something like this, how does it make you feel?
Look at that.
That he deserves a massive standing applause.
They were going to say stamp then.
I think hookers are some of the most talented players in any team. Generally speaking, they've got full skill sets. You usually see them out bloody trying to kick 60-meter spirals in the warm-up, and they're the guys after training that are having shots at goal with a 10. They're like as a skill set, hookers generally nowadays are up there with some of the best, and that's a prime time example of it. It's spot on. But God knows if that was the plan. Everyone looked a little bit confused, but it worked out in the end.
I think it was planned because I commented on that game, and he showed some other real good touches. That's flamboyant, but the winger was coming on the inside. Whether it was meant to go across the flank, I'm not sure, but it was definitely, he fancies his chances, right? And he's clearly, in junior rugby, obviously he was a scrum half. In youth rugby, he was a number 8, and now in senior rugby, he's a hooker. And by the way, Paul, he's got a much better hairdo and beard, and he doesn't dye it than you.
Oh, look at that! Tell you what, boys, I'm keeping this beard. Doesn't care what you say. Staying. The painted on draw.
We're not doing the standoff.
No, we're gonna wait. We're gonna see now. What do the comments? What will the comments think of the other clip from that game?
We got a great group of regular followers now, haven't we?
We do, yeah.
We should take them out for a night out somewhere. Meet you all in Dublin after lockdown for a sesh.
For a sesh.
Amen for sure.
Okay, I'm being told we have to do it now. Right, here it is. This is the other clip from that game. Sean, you describe what happens in this, and especially think about people listening back. What happened in this game off a Munster lineout that was really interesting?
Okay, I'll describe it technically, tactically, and Dino can give us what it's like as a player. So here we've got a line of touch, right? Now, the question is whether the line out is over and offside lines. All right. So here now, Munster are going to take the ball and the Dragons decide not to commit. Munster want to drive. They realise the Dragons don't commit. All right. The line out is not over because Billy Holland has not passed the ball and he hasn't moved off the line of touch. All right. So in that instance, there are no offside lines. All right. Sorry, there are offside lines because he hasn't transferred the ball. If he transfers the ball, all bets are off. And what Dragons will do is, because there's no offside, they'll come around the back and try to get the back of the no maul. There is no maul. All right. If Dragons engage one player, so one from each player plus one other constitutes a maul on their feet, ball off the floor. That doesn't happen because the Dragons stand off. And it becomes a Mexican standoff. Billy Holland's looking.
There's one pause it right there, because there's one thing that people kept telling me the weekend. Oh, why didn't they just get pinged for obstruction? It's because Billy Holland is telling everybody that he still has the ball. He can be tackled. There's no one obstructing him.
So in that instance, what you coach from the defensive side, right, is you either wait there all day or you send one guy to tackle Billy Holland. All right. And this is where Dragons are naive. They sent one guy, but he came in from the side. There's offside. And so the ref gave a penalty. And that's, he reffed that very well. He explained it very clearly. Young referee. And we had quite a few referees in Guinness PRO14, young referees in the weekend who did really well. So, yeah, it's a Mexican standoff, Dino, isn't it?
So the correct option, you could just drop Billy Holland from the front because it isn't the maul. It's not dropping the maul. It's a tackle.
What Munster should have done there is just keep advancing it to at least put some pressure on Dragons there, because that's easy yards. Well, I've had these things in teams for so long, and what Dragons have done, and they never come off. There's usually one idiot who forgets and is half engaged, and then you've got everyone off, and it's a try because one dude just was half asleep when you've called it. But yeah, like you say there, it's such a weird thing. You never really see it and play out that long in rugby. And yeah, I mean, I've been that guy. We've actually a few times passed the ball back and then seen them stood off and passed the ball back forward to myself who was at the front. And we've got away with that a few times. But it's a bit scary actually. Like Sean was saying, when you usually have someone nominated to just go and smash their knees out, and you're just standing there with the ball waiting just to be absolutely cleaned up. It's not a nice feeling, but thankfully Dragons had a bit of a muzzle with it.
It's one of those tactics that is good until opposition coaches work out a way of combating it. And once that happens, then you got to find something else.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, hold on. Mac. Long time lurker, first time commenter. When beer is mentioned, I'm down.
Mac.
Okay, you're in. Done. Zebre won. Good performance from Zebre. Yeah, it probably hurts two people on this pod a little more than the other two.
No. I give credit where it's deserved. I think Darren Lydiard spoke really well after the game. He said we didn't deserve to win it. Made too many errors. Couldn't get a line out going. And let's face it, the Ospreys had 6 starting internationals in the pack. Young backline, some injuries, and I think they've had some COVID in the camp, but 6 internationals.
Yeah.
Come on. And you're talking seasoned internationals, Lydiard, Bradley Davis, Adam Beard, these sort of fellas, Rodri Jones, 20-odd cappers, Yeah, but you've got to give credit. I thought Zebre were right up for it. I thought Ritzy was right up for it. And they took their tries well and hang on in the end, which is good enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really stoked that Ritzy's finally, that he's got the opportunity with Carlo Cano away to play 10, because he left Benetton to go and be the number 10 at Zebre and has never had his chance. And I think in all the games he's come on, he's had a lot more impact and has kind of merited that jersey a little bit. So good to see him throwing some of those skip passes and taking his chance, scoring that try. He's yeah, he's got some learning, but he needs time in the jersey. He needed it at Benetton, and hopefully he gets it there, and Italy will have a pretty bright future at 10.
There was a downside, mate. Well, I thought Bellini was good too. There was a downside. Licata went off with a nasty injury. Have you heard anything about him?
I haven't actually. I was stoked to see him back on the field for a bit, but because he had just come back from, I'm not sure what the injury was, but I haven't heard anything. Because
Looked nasty.
Yeah, he's an absolute force of nature.
Talk about Rizzi's pass though, the sort of flat skip 5.
Yeah, see, that's one of my favourite balls. That is because they carried really well up until that point, loads of little pick and goes, and then he just zipped that across, didn't he, Sean?
Oh, that's lovely. That's Finn Russell-esque, isn't it?
Look at that! Oh,
yeah, that's a cracker, because that's a tough pass to make with guys in your eye line. We watch here again. It's a 2-step. The secret of it is he's flat, but he's still moving. So it's 1-2 steps fizz. So it's very difficult. The defense sort of checks a little bit, and that takes a lot of skill. Dean will tell you that. That's a good sign, that is, seeing that, and the confidence he's playing, because he's not afraid to run. We saw that last week, didn't we? But really good.
Yeah, the fluidity brings running onto the ball, and that gives him that pass too. He's attacking it. He's got pushing off that right leg, gives him a strong pass as well. So, yeah, I really want to see him grow, because from Ian McKinley actually spent a lot of time with him up in Udine as his coach back in the day, and had massive prospects for him. So hopefully he doesn't fade away there at Zebre behind Kana and gets a chance.
Very interesting comment from Harold Davis. Oh, we're going to this one. Come on. Licata's season is probably over, as Bradley said. Yeah, that's an early one for that. Harold Davis. Sean, is there anything you want to talk about?
Oh, do you have to remind me?
What day is this, Sean?
So tomorrow is my last day in my 40s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're going to be dyeing your beard.
No, I'll go gracefully.
I'm going to go gracefully.
Unlike the vanity-stricken Paul Williams.
Sorry. From Mr. Treadmill.
No, look, the most... I've come to terms, not just with the age, but the occasion. I come to terms with, because we were going to go away to New York as a family and do lots of things. But I ages ago, you realize with COVID and the lockdown, so I feel a little bit for my family and friends, because they were looking forward to a good bash. So it's going to be a little bit of a damp squib. But my eldest boy is in Loughborough, and he's going to be in lockdown, so he can't come home as well. So look, it is what it is. It's nice. It's a milestone. I'm lucky to have made it, and it spurred me on to keep in shape through lockdown. And yeah, look. What I've reflected on is I was looking at what was I looking at? State of Origin this morning.
Yeah, this morning.
Now, in 1990, I was at the second State of Origin match in Sydney. Mark Geyer and Wally Lewis had a fight on the field, right, just for halftime. I was at that game. I had a gap year playing out in Australia. That's 30 years ago.
Yeah, Jesus.
That's the slap in the face. I tipped my cup of tea down my front and thought, well, where has that gone?
First State of Origin game.
Happy almost birthday, mate.
Yeah,
you
looking good, dude.
So we have a few things to just take off as we move through the Guinness PRO14 action. There was a very nice Cardiff Try versus Ulster that I think we need to talk about. We've got some red card action and some postponement action. Adam, if you roll a video, I'll talk. There we go. So this Cardiff Try, Sean, give us some of the stuff here.
Well, the first phase is good because they're worried about Jared Evans, and he comes as second receiver behind and opens up a door for Will Boyd. Now, this is something he's developed into his game. his little dink kicks. It's what we just talked about, isn't it? And it's a beautifully placed kick because it's behind the 13 sort of channel, which is difficult for the wing. Because of Will Boyd's break, the fullback's been committed, Lowry, and it's great vision from the 10. He could easily just go hands his quick ball, but they understand the call comes from the outside and it's beautifully executed. He's doing that. He did it twice against Munster last Monday, and he's knocking on the Wales door again. He's been omitted from the squad, but the Blues are capable of scoring tries like that. It's just they're a little bit naive and young at the moment, closer to the line with their forward pack. So that was a lovely try.
It was good. They, as you said, they're a little bit naive, or Ulster playing well over there. Got the win, 11-7, as we said.
I'm upset a few Ulster people here, but I think they flattered to deceive. I really do. I don't think they punch in the weight that they've got. Second half against Dragons last week, they won the game in the first half, but they sort of switched off a little bit. They huffed and puffed against them. They should be smashing the Blues. They should, on paper.
Yeah.
You look at what they got on paper. Albie Matheson came off the bench. Jack McGrath. You got Cooney in the team. McCloskey. You could rattle them off. Ludi Lewick. And I'm thinking, I saw why they didn't win it.
And Billy Burns is playing so well as well.
Billy Burns.
Right, he's playing, every time I watch him, he's like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. No, you know what I mean? He's not having like 5s.
It's not great on the scale of good.
No, but he's playing. What I mean is he's not having bad weeks. He's playing well every time I see him. You know what I'm saying?
Chiefs girl is
taking a pace in here today.
Chiefs girl might be under the impression we're still giving away free stash for best comment.
I give Chiefs girl some free stash for that.
Sean doesn't look a day over 30, and all the boys in the pod are looking fresh.
I don't even have to dye my hair.
It's the beard. It is.
Yeah. We have some different stories to talk about now from the weekend. So in that first game, which was Scarlets 3, Edinburgh 6, there was something which is still being played out with a disciplinary session, which will happen later this week. So we'll be conscious of that as we describe this. But there was a red card. George Taylor of Edinburgh has required surgery for, as reported by Jamie Borthwick of STV News, broken jaw, cheekbone, and nose because of Josh Help's tackle. So this was a straight red. We have the clip lined up for anyone who didn't see it. It was one of those where a couple of years ago, I think you'd probably get away with this, but with the replays and head-on-head and no mitigation, Paul, this is one where I think, not to speak for anyone, I think we're okay with this being red.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't tackle people with your face. And that's exactly what's happened there. And it looked bad at the time. And it looks worse every time I see it, really. And I think he didn't obviously mean to clash. You'd never lead with your head because it hurts you as well. But that is not a good tackle. It's definitely a red, and it's a sizable ban. I'd imagine that'll be 2 to 4 weeks. But he didn't mean to do it. But as we've talked about before, Andy, the outcome can it dictate the punishment, and I don't know. It looks bad. I don't understand. I don't think the Scarlets have really got a leg to stand on with that, really.
Well, look, we've seen Carwyn Jones there. Red, what a joke. Let's get the first thing straight. Josh Helps. There was no malice in that challenge whatsoever. No, in fact, right. It's a great effort by a second row to try and cover and catch Taylor. Right, that's the first thing. But secondly, the officials now have a framework to go by, and any contact with the head, they go through the protocol, and unfortunately, it's a red card. Yeah. Now, whether there's any mitigation in the disciplinary, that's for somebody else to decide, right? We can just offer opinion. The facts are, for me, there was no malice in it. It's unfortunate, but it's head contact, and it's a red card. End of story. And we wish both players all the very best, because it's an unfortunate rugby incident. Would you say?
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page, 100%.
Yeah, we are.
It's Yeah, you can't really add anything to it. It's just one of those things. You got a big man trying to chase down a smaller cook one. He's got no time to think twice there. He's just got to get there as quick as he can, and he risks putting himself at danger. He almost got his head on the wrong side and almost got himself knocked out. So yeah, it's just unfortunate, and that's, I mean, the game's now about protecting the players and trying to reduce danger. So that's why it's a red card.
And and a big thing, like you say, that it was a lock. If that was a 9, he wouldn't have had the force and weight probably to smash a jaw and the nose and a cheekbone. So it's, there's a lot of things at play there. When someone's 19 stone and running into you, it's,
In a wider context, Glenn Delaney said that their tackling wasn't it wasn't endemic. 3 red cards for second rows, high tackles in as many weeks.
It's bad.
That is weird.
That's
that is really
a systemic problem, isn't it?
So
you know what I mean?
You get your tall guys in, because Dean again will tell you it's hard for big guys, or it's not hard and you're lazy. You drill your tackle technique to say, boys, we anything above here, the majority of people on the field, boys, are shorter than you. So drop your height. Sink your knees, sink your hips. Let's work in the gym and get a bit more flexibility in your back and your hips and your hamstrings with the conditioners, if that's a problem. All right. And let's work on our tackle technique, right? Because it's costing us. It's cost the Scarlets 3 red cards. They've got enough players away. They can't afford injuries. They can't afford red cards, and they can't afford any more defeats. Bottom line, sort out your tackle technique.
You're totally right. When you put it like that, he'd have been better off missing that tackle, letting him go the length and score, and then at least you're all on the field. That's totally right, Sean, when you say that, when you put it like that.
So we're all in violent agreement on this. We're not going to manufacture any.
I think we've all agreed.
Yeah.
No, I mean, let's leave it. Let's leave that.
So we'll kick on, right? So we got next weekend coming up. We got Dragons Connacht on the Saturday. We've got on the Sunday Ospreys Leinster and Scarlets and Zebre, and on Monday we've got Ulster, Glasgow, and Edinburgh, Cardiff. That is again a 5-game weekend, as was last weekend. So this is where if I can tee up Adam for coming in to the show as voice of the Guinness PRO14. How are you? So look,
well behaved.
Particularly
you, Dean, after last week.
You, Dean.
I'm pleased I'm back on.
And you got that invoice in on time. Well done.
Yeah. 8 a.m. Thursday morning.
Very wise.
Sorry, Andy. I believe you've asked me to come in here to talk about something more serious.
Well, no, it's just it's something which I think that our educated listeners will not have been surprised to see a postponement or two for COVID-19 reasons, and it's just something which we're going to get used to over this season, because it's probably going to flare up in various places at various times, and through no fault of anybody, because it's very important that people don't think that, a club is behaving badly or a player has been behaving badly. You can get this in so many different ways. But I was just interested to bring you in here, because this is something which you guys are going to have to think about as organisers. And the statements the last 2 weeks have been slightly different. There's slightly different things going on. So I want you to tell our viewers and our listeners, what are you preparing for?
Yeah, so I suppose, look, what's prepared for is when you've got more than 1 or 2 cases in a squad, because then the contact tracing is much bigger, and you've got a lot more people who could have been infected or exposed. And I'll tell you, there's so much work going in with the teams at the moment. On certain days, they're training, they're keeping backs and forwards separated, they're keeping different levels of players away from others, just to make sure that, look, if this group of people got sick, do we have another group of people who are able to step up to the mark and play in game to fulfill a fixture? Now, just to deal with the 2 postponements for Benetton. So last week you were looking at a very, very, very small number of cases. I think it was about 2. And that's enough that you can manage that and you can control that. But in Italy, the regulations are a little bit different. As soon as you get basically more than one positive in an environment, you've got to down tools and you're not allowed meet up.
Pause this for 1 second. Adam, sorry, I need to do this. I've 2 comments in on saying that people can't hear Adam. We can hear Adam. So can anyone else in the comments section, can you hear Adam?
Well, I'll keep talking. I'll hold the microphone up a bit closer.
That's a bit better, actually.
Yeah, it's clearer.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay. Bye now. Thanks for everyone for chatting.
That's a lot better, actually.
Better now.
Okay.
Better.
So to recap, last week there was I think it was maybe 2 cases with Benetton, and you can control that. But in Italy, once you get above 1, they're just trying to get everybody to down tools and separate, isolate, and then start testing and make sure everyone's okay. On that basis, they just weren't going to be in a position where they could fly to Ireland and fulfil the game against Connacht. So it was fine. You make that decision early enough once you've got the information, and that's a situation. And I suppose to your point, Andy, where you say we're going to get different types of reasons for postponements and stuff. That's one where the decision is taken out of the tournament's hands. That is basically made because of the health guidelines in place in that territory. I think you might think if that had occurred in the UK or Ireland, potentially, I don't think you'd have the same impact in terms of having to shut everything down. But we have had incidents across the UK and Ireland, but it's been very, very restricted. It's either been a couple of academy players or it has been one player, and they've isolated close contacts for various reasons. Games have managed to go ahead. It's all been controlled and it's all managed. This weekend is different in that our medical advisory group, which is made up of our chief medical officers from the 5 unions, that's South Africa, Italy, Ireland, Wales and Scotland. They meet every week and they discuss all the different incidences and where everyone's at, how we're managing all of these various challenges. And this one really was their decision to look at all the evidence. There'd been a couple more cases with Benetton, and because they'd been separated since last week, and those cases still emerged, then you've got to consider the incubation period, and that would not end before this weekend's game. So, the best choice is to bite the bullet, postpone this weekend's game, ensure that you're not putting any pressure on Benetton to get everybody together again, and potentially put other people at risk of exposure, and also then you're not putting the visiting team at risk of exposure, so you're mitigating any risk against further matches the following couple of weeks. And we've got to remember that what could happen from one club game could, in the worst case scenario, that could leak into an international setup, and that's the last thing anybody wants to have happen, and vice versa. You don't want it coming back from international. So I think the bubbles are safe to a point, but you're not invincible if you're in a bubble. And I think there's been some close calls, and I think that message is going through to a lot of people across all of our clubs, and even going up to the international, because you can be as well behaved as you want, but unfortunately you can't control the people in your life if they're contracting it at work or something like that. So yeah, it's a really tricky situation for everyone.
Yep. Thanks for that, because it's going to be one of these years where it's just going to be very, very weird. In fact, I say one of these years we haven't had one like this before.
No, exactly. Yeah.
From a Benetton point of view, just quickly, selfishly, competition PRO14 aside, great timing for Benetton, I say. They've got a lot of boys out with Italy.
That's right, yeah.
And they just weren't really finding, things weren't quite clicking the last few weeks. So I think this could be a little blessing in disguise, selfishly, for Benetton. So it's always a silver lining.
On the subject of it is, just for people listening and people who are like, if you're delighted through all of this that your favorite team is back playing and you're getting to enjoy watching sport again, which you didn't get to do for 4 or 5 months up in this part of the world, if you liked your rugby, when things, as we keep saying, when things get back to normal, when you see the doctor or any of the medical staff from a club you support, if you come across anybody from the unions who's working on the medical side of it, buy them a coffee, buy them a pint. Don't shake their hand, don't get close. Okay?
Don't shake their hand.
show some appreciation, because the work management that is being put in to getting all of these games, to getting all of these environments made safe on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, making sure travel is safe, trying to look after the players and keep them sane with all the restrictions they've got to go through. It's off the charts, and I'm in awe at the way that they're handling all of it. And again, as well, just, you know, someone we might have up on the show next week is Lloyd Ashley at Ospreys, who's he plays a big part in mental health for the Welsh Players Association.
Yeah.
And we were talking. He's done a piece for the programs this week that we'll put on our website. But, you know, talking about how players are trying to live through COVID and having to take all of these extra precautions, and you know, how they've got to ask their families to be safe as well, you know, so that they're not exposing themselves, bringing everything into camp. So while I'm sure they're loving the 80 minutes, the rest of the week is it's not normal, and it's very difficult. And my hat goes off to everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. Now we move on to something equally scary. Yeah, no. This isn't going to be fun, because now we move on to inside Paul Williams' mind.
Right, I don't know what this or what I'm supposed to do here, even.
Yeah, I couldn't make any notes on that.
No. I tell you what, there hasn't been much in my mind this week. But something did go wrong on Twitter last night when the election was on. Somebody tweeted, if you've got any hot takes, now's probably a good time to bury it.
Oh, I saw this.
So I tweeted that you should never, ever convert a hooker from a back row forward, right? And I probably had about 250 replies, every single one with somebody who either had 40 test caps or won a World Cup. I had them from players, I had them from internationals. Like, what about Kevin Mialamu? Mapasua texted me and said, you've got this really badly wrong, Paul.
Steve Thompson, World Cup winner.
I know. Or in the end, all I was replying was, yeah, except for him. So all the thread was, so it's like someone saying, yeah, what on me? Yeah, except for him, except for them, except for those two, except for him, except for him. The nightmare. I turned my notifications off in the end. Good time.
Really.
I meant to, such as the professionalism of the podcast, I meant to brief Andy beforehand, so I haven't briefed him, so I'll just do the bit for him. What I'd like to introduce to the show is, in an effort to get ratings and subscriber reviews up for the podcast, to keep us high in the podcast charts and make it easier for others to find us. If you leave us a review on the pod channels, we will read the best / funniest ones out on the show each week. So yeah, if you're listening and you're enjoying the show, or if you've got some critiques, that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, leave a review and we'll get Andy to read out the funniest ones.
Oh, critiques could be very good.
5-star critiques gets read the quickest, so make sure.
I want a good, well-written critique.
Yeah,
that to me now would be a lot more interesting than saying, hey, listen, Beardy, well done.
See, Williams is sweating now because he's genuinely nervous about the feedback he might get.
It'll be awful.
He'll be a wreck. He'll be back on the Cherry Aid midweek now.
He'll be nervous. Can you imagine half the Benetton squad just piling in? Oh,
I'll be 1 stars at this stage.
Yeah. Who's that Kiwi?
No.
So to protect Adam's master plan, there need to be 5-star reviews, but a good constructive critique. Right?
Exactly. Nothing to get me sacked.
Yeah,
and we'll try and come up with some sort of prizes. The worst thing is, like, when people can't go to games, the easiest thing we're able to give is like, oh yeah, we can give you tickets. They're great prizes to give away to people.
I've got nothing.
Unfortunately, at the moment.
That's a really good point.
Tickets ain't doing the job, unfortunately.
Okay, chip in with ideas about what we could give you that might make sense. And dear sponsors out there, we're right here.
This is your chance.
Listen, I had a spooky one this week. I don't know if it's of interest, but there was an announcement made last week of a new first team coach of one of the Pro 14 teams, right? A West Walian team who plays in black, who I used to coach. Now, in it just sparked a memory, right? And I'm one of these saddos, actually under my desk here, right? I'm one of these saddos that keeps all programs, right?
Oh my God.
Or that I was either involved with as a player or a coach, right? And I'm glad I did, because it sparked something.
That's brilliant.
When I was head coach of the Ospreys, you have to write program notes, right, every week, and I quite enjoy doing that. But one week, it was in 2010. I got a little bit. Where do I go this week? You know, games are coming thick and fast. And I thought,
Welsh program.
do you want me to whip one out? I can whip you out the final where we won a trophy, Adam, if you want. But anyway, so I wrote these program notes this week, and I thought I'm going to do something different. So I wrote a futuristic coaches column, Ospreys 2020.
No way.
Right?
No way.
Right, I'll dig it out for you. I'll send it to you, a photo of it.
Are they good?
Well, no. The reason I mention it is because what I wrote in there, futuristic, I went something along the lines of CEO Jonathan Thomas said da 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 da, right? And then commercial manager Gavin Henson and all this da da da. And then I said head coach, newly appointed head coach Duncan Jones.
No way.
Yeah. And last week he was made first team coach of the Ospreys.
Yeah.
So it was
Point.
wow, you know.
Right, you need to dig that out. That's gold. That's gold.
Yeah, I'll dig it out. I'll take a photo of it and put it on the group. But
And look, you weren't far off with Jonathan Thomas. At least he's still involved, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's
he still could. I don't know. I think it was Ryan Jones. I think it was Ryan Jones I put as chief exec, and of course Ryan's been in a chief exec type role for the Welsh Rugby Union. So there's who's to say that he couldn't become? But I just thought I'd bring it because Duncan. So just a note to Duncan. He's a great old Osprey, you know, an original from the first squad in 2003, and now he's been made first team coach. So congratulations to him. But yeah, I thought it was uncanny, really, that it came
fantastic.
across.
That's good.
Very cool.
I like that. I'm looking forward to you putting that up on the Twitter machine, and we can go absolutely mad. James O'Brien, I'm not reading that comment.
I saw that now, yeah. Got a lot of
Put it
things
this way, it's kind of Jonathan Thomas related, and I'm not going there. Right?
That's fantastic. Very good, Andy.
We're gonna let this go. Other than Paul Williams gets 30 seconds to preach about the greatness of Richie Mounga'a.
Brilliant. That was the performance of the weekend from any player in any competition. Different level. Talk about triple threat. Jesus. Did it all. Magnificent. And you'll notice now, nobody's mentioning Bowden Barrett at 10 anymore.
No.
I haven't heard that conversation for about 4 weeks. And you think that Bowden Barrett was World Player of the Year at 10 2 seasons ago? 3? And now it's just, right, you play where we tell you to play. Richie is 10. It's like, oh my God. All Black rugby, man. It's ruthless.
It was an absolute. It was an absolute kicking, and it could have been a lot worse. You know,
could have been
It was a record. It was a record win, right?
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. Wow. No, they're
it was
phenomenal.
a record win, and it still felt that if you're Australian, you got off very lightly.
Oh, absolutely. It was prison shower stuff.
A little bit. Adam, if you have anything that you could pop up on screen that could reset the tone of tonight's pod after the last 3 minutes. There we go. We are now leaving with an image of John King with his magic screen on CNN because do you know what? I'm about to get a glass of whiskey. I'm going to relax and go straight back into election watching mode and possibly lose another night of sleep. But thank you, everybody, for joining in on the show. We do love having you along. Thank you, Sean Holley. Thank you, Dean Budd. Thank you, Paul Williams. Thank you, Adam Redmond, for both producing and popping into the show as official voice of the Guinness PRO14. And we'll pin you sometime when you're least expect it. That was Under the Sticks, podcast brought to you by PRO14 Rugby. My name's Andy McGeady. Enjoy the week. We'll talk to you soon. And happy birthday, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out, guys.
They call me cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Ooh, cheetah, cheetah, cheetah.